When it comes to celebrity couples, we usually get the flashy Instagram posts, the red carpet kisses, and the staged smiles for the cameras. But rarely, so rarely, do we hear stars open up about what really makes their love last. And that's exactly why fans are in shock after Nelly and Ashanti revealed their unexpected advice for making a blended family and a rekindled romance actually work. They admitted that in every relationship, disagreements are inevitable. People won't always see eye to eye, even if they're madly in love. But the key, according to them, isn't about avoiding fights. It's about keeping them private, working through the pain, and growing together behind closed doors. And if you think that sounds simple, think again. Because when you're dealing with the glare of the spotlight, curious fans, and gossip blogs waiting for the tiniest crack in your relationship, choosing privacy over publicity is harder than you can imagine. Let's break down the real meaning behind their shocking blended family advice, and why it might just change the way we all look at love. First, let's rewind. Nelly and Ashanti's story isn't your typical love affair. They dated in the early 2000s, captured hearts everywhere, and then, like so many fairy tales, it all came crashing down. They broke up, moved on, and for nearly a decade, lived separate lives. But fate, as it often does, had a different plan. Fast forward to their reunion, their quiet marriage, and the birth of their first child together. And suddenly, the narrative flipped. This wasn't just a celebrity couple making headlines for romance. This was a love story with scars, history, and a second chance, which is why their advice on privacy and growth hits harder than most. They've lived through the public scrutiny once before. They know how brutal the rumor mill can be, and now they're saying if you want something real, you protect it, you shield it, and you fight for it away from the cameras. But here's where it gets deeper. Nelly and Ashanti aren't just navigating their relationship as husband and wife. They're navigating the reality of a blended family. Nelly already had kids from previous relationships. Ashanti, stepping into that world, had to learn not just how to be a wife, but also how to become a supportive stepmom figure. That dynamic alone comes with challenges, because every child, every parent, every family structure has its own rhythm. Add in fame, money, and media attention, and the potential for conflict skyrockets. Yet, according to them, the reason it works is because they refuse to let the world in on their disagreements. They'll hash it out, sure, but behind closed doors. They're not giving tabloids a free ticket into their struggles. That boundary, they say, is what keeps the family strong. Now, think about that for a moment. In today's world, oversharing has become the norm. Celebrities go live on Instagram in the middle of fights, post cryptic tweets during arguments, or air out grievances in messy interviews. But Nelly and Ashanti? They're rejecting all of that. Their message is clear. Protect your peace, protect your privacy, and when you disagree, remember that it's not the public's business. Fans were stunned because it's advice we rarely hear anymore, especially from celebrities who are constantly asked to be transparent. One fan tweeted, "This is grown-up love. Ashanti and Nelly are teaching us how to fight fair, and in private." Another commented, "They're proving you don't need to air your business to prove your love." Of course, this hasn't stopped the rumor mill from spinning. Word on the street is that some insiders believe Nelly and Ashanti's emphasis on privacy is their way of protecting a marriage that's already facing outside pressures. Blended families are rarely easy, and it's natural for disagreements to surface. But the difference here is how they handle them. Instead of feeding gossip blogs, they choose silence. Instead of letting kids see unnecessary drama, they model unity. And if you've ever wondered why their relationship feels so much stronger this time around, this could be the answer. Because instead of living for the cameras, they're living for each other. And this brings us to one of the most powerful elements of their advice: growth. Nelly and Ashanti admit that disagreements are not a sign of failure. In fact, they say disagreements are part of growth. When you clash, you learn. When you struggle, you adapt. And if you survive those storms, your bond becomes unshakable. That perspective hits hard, especially coming from a couple with their history. Remember, These two didn't just walk down the aisle and live happily ever after. They broke up, spent years apart, and had to relearn each other as adults. Growth for them isn't a buzzword. It's the foundation of their second chance. But here's the twist. Fans aren't the only ones listening. Relationship coaches, lifestyle bloggers, even psychologists have jumped in to say Nelly and Ashanti's approach makes sense. Public spats, especially in blended families, can create cracks that are hard to heal. Kids, extended relatives, even friends can get pulled into drama that should have stayed between two people. By keeping disagreements private, couples give themselves the space to fix issues without outside judgment. One expert even said, "What Nelly and Ashanti are doing is creating emotional safety in their home. That's rare in celebrity culture, but it's powerful." Of course, there are critics. Some argue that keeping everything private could also mean sweeping problems under the rug. Others claim that celebrities like Nelly and Ashanti have no choice but to preach privacy, because they've both been burned by the press before. Remember when rumors of Nelly's infidelity spread years ago? Or when Ashanti was dragged into painful headlines involving Irv Gotti? For skeptics, their advice is less about wisdom and more about self-preservation. But maybe, just maybe, both can be true. Maybe protecting their love means learning from the past while also choosing a healthier future. And isn't that what growth is all about? The fans, though, seem to be siding with the couple. Instagram comments under their posts are filled with love, admiration, and gratitude. People are calling their advice refreshing, grown, and even revolutionary. Because let's be honest, in an age of chaos, seeing a celebrity couple choose calm feels radical. Nelly and Ashanti aren't trying to prove anything to anyone anymore. They're just trying to build a family, raise their child, and navigate life as a unit. And in doing so, they've accidentally become role models, not just for blended families, but for anyone trying to make love last in a messy world. So what's the big takeaway? That real love isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about protecting your bond while you work through it. Nelly and Ashanti's advice might shock some, but for others, it's exactly the reminder they needed. Keep your business private, focus on growth, and remember that relationships aren't perfect. They're messy, complicated, and worth fighting for. And maybe that's why this couple has endured the storms, walked back into each other's arms, and come out stronger than ever. Their story is a masterclass in second chances, and their advice might just be the key to making them last. The question is, are you ready to take notes? Because love like this doesn't just survive. It inspires,